James was running out into the hands of James. Pulls up for 3.
For 8 assists.
Back door, nice find.
Problems. He's making up for that real quick.
The basketball world has been watching. The critics have been circling. And Bronny James, he just walked back into the South Bay Lakers gym and reminded everyone why development matters more than headlines. Friday night, November 21st, Santa Cruz Warriors on the opposite bench. And Bronny James put up 15 points and 8 assists on 50% shooting from the field. But here's what makes this story so much bigger than one game. This wasn't just a solid performance. This was the continuation of a narrative that the haters refuse to acknowledge. Because while everyone's been busy screaming about nepotism and draft position, Bronny James has been quietly averaging 21.9 points, 5.3 assists, and 5.3 rebounds across 11 G-League games this season. Read that again. 21.9 points per game. That's not a fluke. That's not daddy's influence putting the ball in the basket. That's a young player doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing, developing his game against professional competition and dominating at his current level. And yet, the discourse hasn't changed. The narrative is still stuck on repeat. The same tired arguments about whether he deserves to be here. The same exhausting debates about his last name opening doors. The same refusal to acknowledge what's happening right in front of everyone's eyes. So let's talk about what actually matters, the basketball. When Bronny James steps onto a G-League court, something shifts. The hesitation disappears. The confidence emerges. The player who looks uncomfortable in NBA minutes transforms into someone who attacks, creates, and controls the game. And it's not subtle, it's visible to anyone actually watching instead of just waiting for their moment to tweet a hot take. 8 assists in a single game, that's not accidental. That's court vision, that's reading defenses, that's making the right play over and over again. When you watch the film from this game, you see beautiful passes, skip passes to the weak side, lobs to cutting teammates, dump-offs in the paint that lead to easy buckets. This is basketball IQ on display. The scoring? Efficient and composed. 50% from the field shows shot selection and execution. He's not forcing bad shots trying to prove something. He's taking what the defense gives him. That's maturity. That's understanding your role within the offense. But let's zoom out for a second, because the individual game statistics only tell part of the story. The bigger picture is even more impressive and even more inconvenient for the doubters. Across his G-League season, Bronny is shooting 44.3% from the field and 38% from three-point range. Those aren't empty percentages. Those are legitimate shooting numbers that show he can actually put the ball in the basket when given consistent minutes and a defined role. Compare that to his NBA numbers, 2.1 points per game on 29.6% shooting across 10 games. The split is jarring. The contrast is undeniable. And it raises the most important question in this entire discussion. What explains the difference? The easy answer is talent level. The NBA is harder, the defenders are better, the margin for error is smaller. And sure, that's part of it, but it's not the whole story. The real answer is confidence. It's comfort. It's the psychological weight that comes with being Bronny James in an NBA arena versus being Bronny James in a G-League gym. When you're playing G-League basketball, you're competing against peers. You're all fighting for the same thing, a chance to prove you belong at the next level. The pressure is real, but it's basketball pressure. It's about performance, development, and seizing opportunities. Yes, Bronny faces more scrutiny than his teammates, but at least he's being evaluated on relatively normal terms. When you're playing in the NBA as LeBron James' son, everything changes. The microscope intensifies. Every possession becomes a referendum. Every missed shot becomes a meme. Every mistake gets amplified across social media, while every success gets minimized or attributed to nepotism. You're not just playing basketball, you're defending your right to exist in that space. That kind of pressure doesn't just affect performance, it suffocates it. And here's what the critics fundamentally misunderstand. Acknowledging this reality isn't making excuses. It's recognizing the unique psychological challenge that no other player in modern NBA history has faced. Nobody has ever entered the league as the son of an active player who also happens to be one of the greatest to ever play the game. Nobody. The two-way contract structure that the Lakers implemented, it's not a gimmick, it's smart player development. It's giving a young player the space to build confidence through success while gradually acclimating to the NBA level without the crushing weight of expectations destroying his growth. This is how development is supposed to work. This is the process functioning exactly as designed.
But the narrative police don't want to hear it. They've already decided Bronny doesn't deserve his opportunity. They've already concluded that he's only here because of his last name. And no amount of evidence, not the 21.9 points per game, not the efficient shooting percentages, not the playmaking ability, will change minds that were made up before he ever played a professional minute. Let's be honest about something else. The nepotism argument isn't entirely wrong. Would Bronny James be on an NBA roster right now if his father wasn't LeBron James? Probably not. The second round of the NBA draft is filled with talented players who never get real opportunities. Being LeBron's son absolutely opened doors that would have remained closed otherwise. But here's the thing. Nepotism gets you in the door. It doesn't make you shoot 44% from the field. It doesn't give you the vision to average 5.3 assists per game. It doesn't make you execute smart basketball plays or show legitimate defensive instincts. Those things, those are on Bronny. The door opened because of his last name, but what he does once he walks through that door is entirely his responsibility. And across 11 G-League games, he's been hooping. This isn't a fairy tale story about a kid overcoming all odds. This is a realistic story about player development, about building confidence, about navigating an impossible situation with dignity while the entire world watches and judges. Friday night's performance, 15 points, 8 assists, 50% shooting, wasn't an anomaly. It was consistent with what Bronny has been doing all season in the G-League. The problem is that most people aren't watching G-League games. They're just waiting for NBA minutes so they can unleash their predetermined criticisms. The path forward for Bronny James is clear. Continue stacking successful G-League performances, keep building that confidence, and gradually translate those skills to NBA competition as the comfort level increases. It's not complicated. It's just player development on a timeline that doesn't satisfy the instant gratification demands of social media. Will he eventually become a rotation-level NBA player? Maybe, maybe not. The jury is genuinely still out on his long-term potential. But what's not up for debate is this. He's showing legitimate professional basketball skills at the G-League level, and that matters. Pascal Siakam played in the G-League. Chris Middleton played in the G-League. Clint Capella played in the G-League. The list goes on and on of players who use that developmental platform to become solid NBA contributors. Nobody questions their legitimacy now. The difference is that we weren't watching their every move. We weren't dissecting their shooting percentages and assist totals. We weren't having daily debates about whether they deserved their opportunities. We let them develop in relative peace. Bronny James doesn't get that luxury. Every dribble is analyzed. Every shot is scrutinized. Every game becomes a cultural conversation instead of just a basketball game. And you know what? He's still out there hooping. Still averaging over 20 points per game in the G-League. Still showing playmaking ability, still working on his craft while millions of people have already decided his story for him. This Friday night performance was another chapter in an ongoing development story. 15 points and 8 assists won't make anyone forget their preconceived notions. It won't silence the loudest critics or convert the most determined haters. But it's evidence, it's proof, that beneath all the noise, all the discourse, all the insufferable debates about legacy and nepotism, there's actually a basketball player trying to develop his game. And at his current level, he's succeeding. The haters will keep hating, that's guaranteed. The critics will keep moving the goalposts every time he shows improvement. That's inevitable. But Bronny James just keeps showing up, putting in the work, and producing at the G-League level. Maybe that's not good enough for people who wanted him to fail from day one. Maybe that's not satisfying for those who need every LeBron-adjacent story to be either pure triumph or complete disaster with no nuance in between. But for those actually paying attention to player development instead of just searching for ammunition for their hot takes, this is what growth looks like. This is what the process looks like. And whether you want to admit it or not, it's working. Bronny James isn't his father. He'll never be his father. He doesn't need to be his father. He just needs to be the best version of himself. And that version is still being written, one game at a time, away from the brightest lights, but under the heaviest scrutiny. Friday night was another chapter in an ongoing development story. 15 points and 8 assists won't make anyone forget their preconceived notions. It won't silence the loudest critics or convert the most determined haters. But it's evidence, it's proof, that beneath all the noise, all the discourse, all the insufferable debates about legacy and nepotism, there's actually a basketball player trying to develop his game. And at his current level, he's succeeding.